Checking up on the OnePlus 13, and it really is impossible to beat this price to performance in the United States. Allow me to explain. Hey there, this episode of Some Gadget Guy is brought to you by viewers like you. All of the incredible people sharing content across social media and the generosity of my patrons at patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. More info on those awesome nerds later in the video. Looking at a long-term follow-up, and after the buzz, OnePlus has been on a roll the last couple of years, and the company is delivering refined, powerful devices that undercut the price of phones sold by Google, Samsung, and Apple. Internationally, there's a lot more competition, but here in the United States, we're getting fewer and fewer options to play with. Motorola, for example, not sending us a premium slab phone to play with. Around this time of year, I'm looking at my videos and looking what I've been using. In years past, I've had a pretty good split between OnePlus and Pixels, trading my personal SIM card, switching watches, earbuds, all of that back and forth. I'd like one part of the experience on one phone and a different part of the experience on another. But looking at my little production diary this year, I'm mostly just stuck with the OnePlus 13. My Pixel 9 Pro XL has gotten very little attention. Google's current initiatives just aren't traveling the path that I care about. I do not use cloud AI services. We've got Gemini on all phones now to some degree, and I choose not to use it. OnePlus has circle to search and speech to text transcription, and beyond that, there's less and less separating these devices in software services now. I'm not trying to rag on the Pixel, but I feel it important to explain a preference. If you like your Pixel, I want you to love your Pixel, but I'm a hardware junkie and I want a powerful pocket computer. It's that hardware comparison where the OnePlus pulls ahead when we consider the price to performance. That's where this phone has aged really well over the last couple of months because I've used it for almost everything. Current app count, 196. When I try out a new service, I turn to the OnePlus 13. I'm playing a new game. It's gonna play better on the OnePlus 13. Every other accessory I review, all of those companion apps on the OnePlus 13. And I like OnePlus in general. I like the watches, and I like the earbuds and the OnePlus tablets. I also review headphones and earbuds. The only earbuds the OnePlus won't support the highest quality audio codec are Samsung's earbuds. Everything else, every other audio solution I can connect here and know I'm going to get the highest quality audio that headphones supports. AAC, all the flavors of aptX, LDAC, LHDC, that's also something Samsung can't boast. But it's the overall performance that really does it for me. I'm not one of these techies that acts like we're just over chip improvements and higher performance because average consumers don't know what to do with more horsepower. I personally want to cut up a little video. I want to record a podcast on the go. I want to play some heavier, nicer games, and I don't want to always have to lug a laptop with me. My phone is a scary, powerful computer, and it can do some of those laptop-y things. Yeah, like that gaming point, getting really good. I started digging a little deeper into PC gaming emulation on my phone, and I started with the OnePlus. All those people complaining about mobile gaming, oh, Android gaming, so terrible. Well, if your phone is powerful enough, you can just play PC games. You're watching a tech video right now. We don't want phones made for average consumers. We don't want the most expensive devices to continue being made for the lowest common denominator. Now, I've been ragging a little on the Pixel, but that performance can be matched here in the USA with a Samsung. I would say the two companies are neck and neck when they're using similar chips, but you know, when you run a phone harder, it's also nicer to have a bigger battery with faster charging. Dollar for dollar, a Galaxy S25 Plus gives the OnePlus 13 a pretty close fight until you need to charge it. Then it's just kind of embarrassing. It's embarrassing for Samsung, but also Google and Apple. I'm about 120 charge cycles into using this phone almost exclusively with a OnePlus charger, and yeah, that's still early, but the phone reports 100% battery health with fast charging. You want a real practical feature that differentiates between different phone models? Fast charging fundamentally changes your relationship with your phone. I'm not afraid to leave the house with a 30% charge to run some errands because the battery is bigger than any Pixel or Galaxy. I'm not always looking to baby this, plugging it in when I get a few extra minutes or trying to top it off during the day, because I can plug in for a couple minutes and get a day's worth of runtime. I don't have to play that stupid game where I buy a bunch of extra chargers or wireless charging pads. I only plug it in when I need to. And at some point, I hope we can study these faster charging devices, see if the trade-off in speed helps with battery longevity. Charging an iPhone, Pixel, or Galaxy, you keep the battery hotter for a much longer period of time on every charge cycle than when you charge fast on a OnePlus. I just finished reviewing that new smaller OnePlus watch, and my wife has completely given up on her Pixel watch. The battery life and charging speed is the major reason why. The charging on her watch is so good, she's curious, what would that be like on a phone? So it's unlikely her next phone is gonna be another Pixel. If we ask consumers, I don't hear them begging for thinner phones that won't last as long away from a charger. As a lifestyle companion gadget that we live our lives out of, every time I've given someone a OnePlus, they immediately comment on the battery life and charging speed. It is a major, noticeable difference in how we use our phone and how we manage our phone over the top 3 premium phone manufacturers in the United States. I run this phone real hard for both my personal stuff and my work, and I just cannot run a Pixel the same way without having to manage and babysit the Pixel more. I can already feel some people in my audience because they know I'm also a mobile photography junkie, and the camera conversation is interesting as it is pretty close to what I predicted in my original review of the 13. This is a capable daily driver phone with good software and good sensors, and at this point, the differences in full auto shooting for social media posts are just gonna come down to your personal preferences. You might like a contrastier look or a brighter look or a more saturated look, and there's no one universal right answer for photography. If all you do is push the shutter button, you should be shopping under $500. But we're talking about premium solutions, and what I like about Oppo's strategy are the extra little tools you can quickly change up. The phones that lean on heavier image stacking and HDR processing don't always give us the best options to freeze action. As a dad of a rambunctious 9-year-old athlete, I don't care about the most colorful unicorn color HDR if that means movement. If movement is gonna get blurred. Now, Google can try to fix this in post by unblurring your shot with AI. Samsung still just kinda lags when you really don't want it to. It's gotten better, it's still there. And OnePlus has a little action guy button. The photos come out a little less HDR-ish, but the action comes out sharper. I feel that's pretty easy to understand, and it's a trade-off I'm happy to make in different situations. I also like that the auto mode has a very simple exposure lock, so I don't always have to keep swiping a bar to change the exposure every time I focus. This is very basic stuff, but even at its most basic, this is giving me a little more control to make sure I nail the moment I care about. But it's the bummer, I still have this on my desk here, the bummer over last year's OnePlus 12, I wish the 13 had a close focusing telephoto camera. I love taking macro shots, and they're just better from a telephoto camera than an ultra wide. On the OnePlus 13, I can kind of get away with using the main camera and cropping in from there, but it's not as good as the OnePlus 12. And the extra stuff is just icing on the cake. You know, the little notification rocker, that's a great hardware feature. It's very practical. And I still use the IR blaster from time to time. It came in handy at a restaurant recently when I wanted to watch a different game than what they had on the TV. I'm real happy OnePlus got on board last year that we still have video output from the USB-C, but I'm hoping we'll see some support for that improved desktop mode in Android 16 when this finally gets updated. The basic desktop mode is broken on Android 15. The video output is great for watching movies on another display or some fancy XR glasses, but desktop mode is one of the last pieces which would make this an even better all-rounder computer. But really, the issue is the same as it's been for the last couple years of OnePlus devices. There's not much marketing here in the United States, so unless someone stumbles onto a OnePlus, or if you're a nerd like me and you literally put a OnePlus in someone's hands, it's hard to discover this. Right now, there's so little consumer education for consumer electronics. It's even harder to explain why one phone might be better than another. The best way to compare is to look at features and performance per price. The OnePlus 13 here can go toe-to-toe with the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra and win a few fights. But if you compare those two phones, that means you're giving Samsung a $300 advantage, about a 30% price advantage. Of course, someone might want the phone with more cameras and a stylus for their work, but otherwise, the experience is remarkably close for a $300 difference. You can spend $300 more on a Samsung Ultra and not win every fight. But then when we compare at similar prices, there's just no win for the Galaxy S25 Plus, except maybe DeX. If you use DeX, that's a great feature, but to get that feature, you have to choose a poorer phone in every other metric, and it's still gonna be $100 more expensive for the same amount of storage. It's a much closer fight competitively, but one where I feel the OnePlus still wins a lot more than it loses. The fight against the Samsung is pretty tough, but I think it's really brutal for Google right now. A Pixel 9 Pro XL retails for $1,100 with half the amount of storage, a smaller battery, slower charging, a less powerful chip, and a radio that gets poorer reception. And for all that, you're gonna spend $200 more and you'll get better call screening. We don't even keep a consistent hardware price disadvantage. If we bump up the local storage on the Pixel, it gets worse. The price difference between a OnePlus and a Pixel jumps from $200 to $320 when you want 512 gig. I'm really not trying to rag on the Pixel just to have a my team versus your team. I want you to love the phone you buy. But I also think we need to do a better job of explaining and comparing differences between phones. So no, I don't buy this. I don't play along. We are not in a post-performance era. High performance has never been more important in mobile as we push boundaries on content creation for social media, AI and machine learning tools, and more impressive gaming experiences. There are very good reasons to buy a more expensive and more powerful device if you want to do things on it. So don't let tech reviewers keep floating this average consumer nonsense. You're watching a tech video. Why would you want to be basic? And to that point, there just is not another company that catches OnePlus in the United States with this performance for the price. Maybe it's because they aren't spending billions of dollars a year on marketing. They can shave a few bucks off and they can still include a fast charger in the box. That's right, because you got to add another $30 or $40 to every phone we've been talking about if you want a first-party fast charger, which doesn't charge nearly as fast as this one does. I wasn't even planning that last part. That's not in my script. I got a little spicy there. So I just haven't had many good reasons to swap my SIM into another phone sold directly here in the United States. I think it's a bit disappointing that OnePlus is on that list of devices. They get coverage when the phone is under embargo every year, and then the reviewer goes back to their iPhone until the next OnePlus is ready to launch. And that is horrifically unfair to this brand. It makes it seem like we're not getting the same support, the same attention, the same updates as the constant conversation we have about Pixel feature drops, One UI updates, and Apple OTAs. And I don't blame people in my comments asking about the update situation because other reviewers don't treat this as consistently. When I'm actually living in this phone, seeing it get those patches, get polished up, I'm pairing them with fantastic accessories, it's a different kind of vibe. So I'm shooting this here the end of the summer, and there are always sales on all of the players. We're hitting that back to school point, and if you want that information, you want to see some sales, I have some links down below. But even if we stage comparisons the way that I like, talking about MSRP, and you should never buy full retail if you can help it, Google, Apple, and Samsung do not have an answer for this phone. The OnePlus 13 has been a champ, and not just because it's cheaper, it's also managing some great lifestyle wins at that lower price. And of course, I want to hear from you. What do you think would change the perception or the visibility of this brand? Because I think the tail wags the dog. If more consumers found this phone through traditional marketing, we would see more search traffic. And then I think it would get more coverage from reviewers. If reviewers don't see traffic on their videos, they aren't going to review other devices with the same care or consistency as they treat Apple. So what do you think should happen? Do we care about good, fair, consistent reviewing, or are we only interested in spending the most time talking about what we already know is the most popular? Drop me some of those hot takes down below. As always, thanks so much for watching, for sharing these videos, subscribing to the channel. The sharing is, of course, critically important, what with all the algorithms and how YouTube has just gotten so toxic these days. I love digging into this stuff. And the folks who get to see the results of my reviewing and testing first are, of course, my incredible patrons. All of the people over on patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. This list of names scrolling by on your screen right now, a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart. These folks are helping to keep the lights on here in the Gadget Lab. They get early access to my videos and reviews. They get my camera deep dives. It talks a lot about some OnePlus cameras over on the Patreon. Production diaries, behind the scenes. They're basically the coolest tech pals in the universe. So I hope you'll check them out. I hope you'll consider joining the community over on patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. Now, you know where you can find me across the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy, basically everywhere, but these days, trying to spend a bit more time on the Mastodons, a little on the Blueskis, and a lot less so on the Facebooks, Threads, Instagrams, and none at all on that dumpster fire site. And I will catch you all on the next video.